Hi guys, so it is FAFO season, and today we are going to talk about Latinos. FAFO, yes, they did. We are going to hear why Latinos voted for Trump, why Latinos, mostly Cubans, uh, always vote Republicans. Okay, but first, let's hear this lady over here. She predicted Latinos mass deportation. She predicted it. This video of hers was made the day after Trump won the election. November 9th, she made that video calling out Latinos for picking Trump over Kamala. Now, here is what she had to say then.
To all you Latinos that voted for Trump, I hope he mass deports you and your entire family. Whether you were here legally or not, you gotta go. I hope he does that.
Go back to Venezuela is not an option.
Not an option for hundreds of thousands of people who say they may face jail time or retaliation for speaking out against the Maduro regime that remains in power. In a TPS termination notice, DHS said in Venezuela there are notable improvements in several areas such as the economy, public health, and crime that allow for these nationals to be safely returned to their home country.
Conditions have not changed. Actually, have getting worse.
At a press conference in Doral Monday, Venezuelan Americans denounced the Trump administration and South Florida Republicans.
More betrayed. Beyond betrayed. They used us. They actually, during the campaign, and I don't want to make this political, but during the campaign, the elected officials from the Republican Party, they actually told us that he was not going to touch the document. That he was not going to touch the document.
Really? Oh, the Republicans promised you that Trump was not going to touch the documented. Really? Okay. Kamala warned you, but you didn't listen. You didn't listen. Now you're complaining, saying Republicans lied to you. You picked him anyway, so live with the consequences. Dear.
Remember the Cuban MAGA activist Hector Luis Valdez? He has been arrested by ICE for robbery and could be sent to Guantanamo Bay as soon as today. He finds himself facing some serious consequences. This Cuban MAGA activist situation escalates very, very quickly. Reports indicate that he could be sent to Guantanamo Bay as soon as today. Valdez also has been a MAGA activist, been spoke out critics, and now fate hangs in the balance. This happens when you vote against your own interests. This is what he voted for, so he cannot blame nobody but himself. Well. Look at this. He voted for what he wanted, right? Send him back to Cuba. That's what they got to do. I did my research on the ICE page, and yes, he pops out. He's detained in the ICE facility in Florida. That's what happens when you vote against your own interests. He loved Papi Trump. Now get Papi Trump in Guantanamo Bay. That karma that he so richly deserves, you got it, boo. You're going back home.
Why do Cubans vote Republican? Well, I get asked this question a lot every time I make a post explaining the Republican Party and what anti-immigration laws that they pass, and comes up with the comments, well, the Cubans are the one that votes for the Republican Party. Why do they do that? Allow me to explain. Now, I'm not speaking for every Cuban, but I am explaining why a lot of Cuban Americans do vote Republican. And this primarily has to do with the fact that the Republican Party aligns themselves more with anti-communism than the Democratic Party. And since Cuba is a communist country and the Cubans that come to America are anti-communism, they align themselves politically more with the Republican Party than the Democratic Party.
You don't say, huh? You don't say. Oh, okay. So Cubans align themselves with the Republican Party because the Republican Party is anti-communism, right? And anti-Fidel Castro, right? But yet, you voted for Trump, who is more aligned with Fidel Castro than anyone else. Help me understand, because I can understand if you say that when Bush was in power and all the past Republican presidents, I could understand that. But Trump, the guy is a dictator, just like Fidel Castro. or a wannabe Fidel Castro. So if I understand well, they had Kamala, but they chose the Cubans. They chose to vote for Trump, a wannabe Fidel Castro, over Kamala. I don't buy that. Lady, I believe they didn't want to vote for a black woman. Yeah, that's the reason. That's the real reason. If you don't believe me, hear him.
Let's talk about the anti-black antithesis in the Latino community because it's a real thing. And it is only further perpetuating the division between our two communities and contributing to the overall oppression of our two communities. And I know there's going to be some people out there that's like, that's not even a thing, that's not a real issue, but it is. I grew up hearing freaking racist remarks made towards black people, and I heard it often. And I know so many other people did. And not only is it about anti-blackness, it's also about internalized racism that some Latinos, including myself when I was a child, felt the need to be white because I saw white people being treated better. And in my mind, I'm like, well, if I'm white, or if I consider myself white, or if I tell people that I'm white, then I am going to be treated better. I didn't understand as a child why I even felt that, but we are socialized as a society to want that unless you break out of the freaking matrix and you realize, oh my gosh, we're all being oppressed by the same.
Well, maybe Marco Rubio is the savior because he's Cuban American. Maybe he keep his fellow Cubans from being deported, right? Well, let's hear what he has to say about that.
Cubans, Haitians, but let me just focus on the Cuban one because I know that one well. So if you come from Cuba, you are presumed to be fleeing political persecution. So you automatically are eligible for refugee cash. You're eligible for food stamps. You're eligible for Medicaid. Others who immigrate to this country have to wait 5 years for those and don't get the refugee cash. But within a year, and if you're paroled, you can apply for a green card. And then you can travel back to Cuba as often as you want, multiple times. You can take cash. You can buy stuff with the food stamps. I've seen it. Okay, this is not, I didn't read this in a magazine. I've seen it. They use the food stamps, they fill up these bags, and they take it back to Cuba over there, or they just transfer cash back. Some people go back to Cuba for 3 months at a time. They've been here a year. How, if you are fleeing persecution, how can it be that a year later you are spending summers in Cuba? How can it be that less than a year later you're traveling back 6, 8 times a year to Cuba? I've never heard of people fleeing persecution going back to a place repeatedly. There's an issue here.
Well, here I was thinking Marco Rubio was going to be the savior. No. I guess he cannot disappoint the dear leader. Huh? Anyhow, guys, here is what I have to say in this particular matter. Okay, I've already made another video about that. The reason behind this mass deportation, there is a specific reason behind mass deportation. There is a reason why they specifically focus on Latinos and Blacks, but mostly Latinos, believe it or not. You know why? Well, Trump, he has Stephen Miller, Steve Bannon, Nick Fuentes, Elon Musk, all of them whispering to his ears about 2045. They are telling him to hurry up because if he didn't put a break to it now, it will be too late, because by 2045, white people will be a minority in the United States. This is what is going on here, people. This is these people trying to stop what's going to happen in 2045. And Latinos are the largest immigrant group in America. When they talk about white people becoming a minority in 2045, they are specifically talking about the Latinos. It's because of the Latinos and white people, they are not having it. They are willing to do anything. They will do anything trying to stop that from happening. They don't want to be a minority. So that's all there is to it. But you did that to yourselves. You did that when you chose him. You had Kamala. You had a better choice. It's not like you didn't. You did. But you went ahead and chose the wrong person, the wrong door, the wrong alternative. This is what happened. You shot yourselves in the foot. Now you have to live with the consequences. You have to accept it. I don't want to hear the complaints. I don't want to hear any complainer complaining about Trump. You picked him. Okay? Live with him. Anyhow, guys, that is all I wanted to say in the matter. Do you agree with me or do you agree with them? Let me know in the comment section. And also, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Until next time, take care.